Welcome back, everyone. Now, the early years of a child's life are a critical stage in developing motor and neurological abilities. Any delay in reaching development milestones or unusual movement patterns may be a sign that requires professional assessment. Now, pediatric physiotherapy plays a quite important role in supporting motor development, improving functional abilities, and helping children achieve their highest possible level of independence, particularly in the neurological and the muscular conditions and injuries as well that may affect movement and development. So how about this? We welcome Shahad Ali-Sadeqi, a pediatric and a physiotherapist. Thank you so much, of course, for being here with us today, and good morning to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, of course, to begin with this, what distinguishes a pediatric physiotherapy from, let's say, physiotherapy for adults, and why does working with children require, let's say, a different approach when it comes to that?
Well, for kids, it's a bit different than adults because their conditions are quite different. Their issues are either related by genetic conditions or an injury during birth or after.
Yeah.
So for them, the condition itself is different than adults. And then the second thing is that with kids, the way you intervene with them is different because we want to take care of their psychological well-being.
Yeah.
So we don't want them to feel like, and also kids don't really work well with orders, so how can I ask a child to perform some specific movement so that it improves his condition when he's just a 3-month-old baby or a 6-month-old baby?
True.
So it really is just getting out of your box in thinking of how to let that child perform your technique or the exercise in a way so that the child continues to perform the appropriate movement and continue improving and reaching his milestone.
Absolutely. So now we're speaking of this, what are the main development signs that parents should basically pay attention to during the early years or the early stages of their life? And when does a developmental variation become something that basically requires the professional assessment in your
For kids, it's more about each month and what is the child supposed to do. So at the age of 3 months, the child is supposed to be able to reach both hands. And then at the age of 6 months, the child should be able to sit comfortably without that much support. And then crawling comes at the age of 9 months, and then walking at the age of 12 months. So these main characteristic milestones, if the child misses them, most parents come to us when the child is not walking, but when we assess the child, we realize that so many other milestones have been missing before you bring the child to us a bit late when they've lost walking.
Which is after 12 months.
Exactly.
So does delay in sitting, like let's say crawling or standing or walking necessarily indicates a problem? Does it necessarily have to be like that? And how do we get to be able to basically distinguish between, let's say, normal developmental, like let's say variation, and an actual motor development disorder?
It really depends first on the condition. For example, if a child has difficulties during labor, that child is more susceptible to have a condition or an issue with delay in motor skills. But so that's one point. And then the other point is just like you asked, if a child has delayed more than 3 to 4 months of his proper milestone reachment. So if a 3-month-old child is still unable to reach in middle, it does not have proper tummy time and lifting his neck up, that is an issue. And if the child is, which most cases parents bring their kids at the age of 12 months, which is delay in walking, we realize that the child is not even sitting. He cannot have that much. So it really depends on the gap, how much gap it is from a child to reach a certain milestone at a certain level, and how much he's reached in his actual age.
Okay, that makes sense now. So to what extent, or let's say the early intervention changes a child's development outcome, and is it true that earlier physiotherapy begins, the better it actually works for them?
Yeah, it's really crucial because there's something called neuroplasticity and neurofilaments. It reaches at its highest when the child is really young. So this is where we can intervene and help those children to learn new pathways, to improve their skills, and then to prevent further issues.
Okay.
So a child who's supposed to be walking at the age of 12 months or climbing stairs at 1.5 months,
Okay.
what if that child is still not crawling? He cannot have that reciprocal movement between these two joints. So if I intervene at the age of 6 months when the child was not crawling that properly, imagine what's going to happen after that. It's like you're building blocks for that child.
Yeah, which is going to be more difficult later on.
Exactly, and then you see the big of a, let's say, a mess of missing blocks. How am I going to organize them when the base of the blocks is missing?
Yeah, so better pay attention to your child's way of, like, let's say, crawling if it's not actually just working right. And we get to pay attention to those details, of course, when it comes to especially our own children.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does make sense. Now, when assessing, like, let's say, a child with motor delay, what exactly do you look for? Is it like muscle strength, balance, muscle tone, head and trunk control, or the sequence in which motor skills are actually acquired?
We look at a really big map. So we first look at the family history, and then we're going to look at the delivery. What happened during delivery? Did something happen, or does the family have a genetic condition that's actually brings us in advance? So some kids, for us, they come even without us, without missing milestones. We have to examine, is that child gonna lose these milestones at that specific age or no? So, and then we're gonna check on exactly what you said. We're gonna check the muscle strength, the balance, their coordination, their neurological deficits, and their reflexes, the primitive reflexes, if they're intact. And then we're gonna look at the rhythm of the movement. So if a child is born early, and he had an injury during that delivery that involves his hand, which is a condition called Erb's palsy. That baby at the age of a few weeks, I know that this child is gonna miss the protective, not protective reaction, their primitive reflexes, which is when the child lifts his hands up, tries to reach to his mouth, tries to grab the bottle. If these are missing, then we'll know that this child will require our care. So it really depends on multiple things that somebody has to be registered as a pediatric physiotherapist to know them exactly.
That is so true. So we say that parents sometimes, they hear, just wait, the child will basically catch up. So when is it reasonable to wait, and when could waiting actually delay the intervention a child actually need?
That's a really good question, because we do have that issue that many people say wait and then see what's going to happen next, but then parents just get busy with their lifestyle. They just get busy with their other responsibilities, and then that child gets lost with that. Once the issue is a really big deal, then they come. So for me, don't wait. Just bring that child for just a simple assessment. It's not even going to take a few minutes for us to check that child. And it's a free governmental service. So you could just come, we'll do the assessment. If your child is okay, let us calm your nerves, you know? We'll tell you that the child is okay, or we're going to assess him later on, rather than you just, you know,
waiting to see what's going to happen.
And just wish for best of luck with that kid.
So better sooner than later to regret. So based on your experience, doctor, with neurological and the neuromuscular conditions, how does physiotherapy get to support children with conditions such as spinal muscular atrophy, which is the SMA, and particularly children who have not yet developed the ability to, like, let's say, sit independently?
For me, these conditions, these neuromuscular conditions are my field of interest. So these kids, I know for a fact that they do require a lot of physiotherapy, specifically for them as a condition. And now with modern medicine, these conditions were considered as fatal, but they're now capable of reaching from their restricted milestone, which is sitting, into a next level. But they won't be able to reach this unless I'm there to intervene, unless I'm there to help them with the medication to improve from one level to another. So I'm very passionate when it comes to these conditions. SMA, you're talking to my heart when you talk about them, because I've seen them, how did they evolve, and I've seen them how they were without these meds, and then what happened when these medications were available in Kuwait. So for them, it's really essential to have a lot of physiotherapy.
Absolutely.
And then even if they're capable of going on their own, we still have to keep monitoring them, us and their pediatric physician and other field, which is a really big circle of medical, of MDT approach, which is multidisciplinary approach for these conditions. So yeah, they really require physiotherapy, a lot of it.
That is quite, you know, beautiful. So now when you're talking about children with, let's say, SMA, how do you get to balance like encouraging movement and functional abilities while avoiding excessive muscle fatigue, placing demands beyond the children's capacity?
Well, for conditions as SMA, their biggest issue is fatigue. So when you ask them to perform a function, they'll be able to perform it, but not as quick as you think, or it's going to be that the child gets tired immediately after performing it because of their condition. The nerve is not sending these signals to the muscle, so it's a lot less. Even with these new medication, they can perform it, but not that well. So you have to be smart on how to play with these conditions. I mean, for pediatric physiotherapy, most of our intervention is based on play therapy or a low threshold technique, which is to be able to perform that action with the least amount of fatigue that's going to cause the muscle. And then you have to keep observing the child. Did he start to have signs of fatigue or not? So you have to have a lot of breaks. You have to make sure the child is having fun, because an irritable child is not a good sign for you to keep continuing his exercises.
That is true.
If the child is moody or sleepy or hungry, why are you trying to intervene with that kid?
Yeah, that is true.
Give him that break. Or sometimes, and many times, what I do is I let the child take the lead. In the session, that the kid thinks that he's the one who's in control, but actually I am the one who's in control, where I control the surrounding, the environment, so that the child continues his treatment plan, but he thinks that he's the boss.
That is true. It's a beautiful way to put it down like that. So we're speaking of neuroplasticity, which is quite an important concept in your field, it says. And in simple terms, what does neuroplasty stand for? What does it mean? And how can physiotherapy use the brain's ability in order to adapt and recognize to help a child develop a new skill?
Well, neuroplasticity is a concept of the brain's capability of forming new ideas and new signals to the brain, or requesting new changes of its neural pathways. So that is at its peak when they're children. We can allow them to evolve or create new neural pathways so that they can have a better function, and then we can increase its frequency so that the kid will evolve from one milestone to another. So for these kids, it requires a lot of repetitive, intensive movement, task-oriented techniques, functional movement exercises, and many, many other techniques that I'm not going to finish if you're going to ask me which are they. But the most essential thing is, it is evidence-based. It has a lot of research that backs it up. So these kids are going to be treated in the most evidence-based way, on the best appropriate techniques that will promote that child to improve.
Which is something that you're basically giving off to the parents to basically use that on them to develop their skills on their movements.
If some of them, not all of them, because some of them are quite difficult for the parent to comprehend because of missing equipments and whatnot. But the greatest type of pediatric physiotherapist is the one who integrates those treatments at home. So if you're performing these techniques at home, and some of them, not all of them, that child will continue in improving.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So we're speaking of some of the common mistakes, let's say, that parents get to make while trying to help their children at home. Are there exercises, or let's say the equipments we were talking about earlier, that could potentially be inappropriate if used without professional guidance?
Well, one of our issues is that many parents, thinking that they're helping their kids, they're bringing people that are unlicensed physiotherapists at home, which is something that I wish to talk about. That these people are unlicensed, they're inexperienced with these, and you're wasting your money with these physios, or maybe they're not physios and they're coming to your home.
Yeah.
And then an issue happens, or what happens most of the time, the child is not improving or changing, because that person is not the person that you want to give your most precious thing to them. So that's one of the issues that we're seeing a lot in our care, that they're bringing people that are unlicensed and they're treating those kids, and even people that they say they're not pediatric physiotherapists. They're saying that they have like special techniques that they're treating these kids, and we're seeing those kids not improving, and not, and worse, they're getting harmed. So for me, that's an issue number one. And then number two, the equipments that are available have to be approved by us before you bring them. Some parents bring the ball therapy, which is a really big ball that you place the child on top. Kids might fall and get hurt. You're not supposed to have these unless I see if it is safe for you to place. And we do order them for the parents, and we tell them exactly what to bring that is safe, and you can use it for the child while he's playing with his brothers and siblings, and he'll continue on improving.
Yeah, this is why a lot of people sometimes are unaware of the situation that they're dealing with. This is why it is very important to make sure to do medical help instead of like trying to seek out their own. And sometimes reading through it, that might not be the situation with your own child. It could be something else.
Exactly.
So basically, how important is the family's role in, let's say, the success of a child's treatment plan, let's say, and how can therapeutic exercises and activities become part of the child's daily routine rather than feeling like, let's say, a formal therapy session?
That's a really good question. It is a really game that we have to understand the child's favorite things that he does, so that I can intervene those treatment plans into his daily lifestyle. Parents don't understand that physiotherapy works not with bringing the child every day to us. It's by integrating those plans into your daily lifestyle. I have kids that I don't even have to touch or see, but because we're intervening those plans into an activity that the child likes, the child keeps improving. So the type of parents that are gonna, that for me, I know the child's gonna improve, are the parents that allow me to be the leader in the plan and integrate those treatments into their daily life activity. An hour a day that you come to the physiotherapy clinic is not going to show you improvement, but something consistent throughout the day is an intensive that implements in improving their neuroplasticity.
Exactly. It's all about consistency and making sure just to follow up with whatever the doctor says.
Yep.
So finally, we got the message that you would like to give each parents who are watching us out there who feel like their child might actually have a motor delay but hesitates to seek assessment because they kind of fear that may actually be simply overreacting. When would you, let's say, specifically say, don't wait?
For me, because parents, when they come, they usually come at certain levels, especially when the kid is not walking. That's one of our main patients that come, especially in the pediatric field. So when you come a lot of the times you come late. So if you have a hunch, and I'm telling moms, trust your instinct. You're not overreacting. And even if you think you're overreacting, let me be that person that tells you to calm down. But bring those kids. Many situations happened where the mom thought that one child had an issue with his foot, but then when she brings that child, and then I detect that they might have a hypermobility condition, I tell her to bring all of the siblings. And then I detect that there are a big issue in hypermobility where there's a high risk of dislocations with the other siblings, not with that child that you brought. So let us be that person for you to calm you down and tell you that this kid is okay, or this kid just requires a little bit of an alteration, like the type of shoes, what type of activity he's not supposed to do at home. Let us be that person to you.
That is true. Thank you so much, Shahad, for this lovely message that you brought out to us right here in KTV2 screen and, of course, in Good Morning Kuwait. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, of course, moving on from this, how about this? We go for a quick short break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.